Hey, this is Dr. Drew, and if you're dealing with headaches or head pain, I'm here to tell you that it is not a deficiency of Tylenol or Advil. The good news is there's lots we can do about it, so let's talk about all the different types of headaches, common symptoms, and then we're going to go through some treatment plans and approaches that maybe you haven't considered yet. So the main types of headaches can be broken down into about 4 or 5 different categories. Popular one that's very debilitating are migraines. Then we have tension headaches. We also have caffeine withdrawal headaches, sinus headaches, dehydration and blood sugar control headaches. So those are the main ones that I'm going to cover and take you guys through. So migraines, they are very debilitating. They're often one-sided, and people will have sensitivity to noise and light and just feel like they want to lay down. And they're debilitating enough to the point that usually people can't work and get their day-to-day stuff done. They either need to take the day off work or just lay down and let it pass. And these ones, commonly people are given medications for. But they're never told about some other potential things they can do to treat them. So the big themes I see with migraines: food sensitivities, liver congestion, and hormone imbalances for women, especially when it's cyclical. So if you're getting migraines just before or right around the start of your monthly cycle, we know that surge and change of hormones could be affecting you and triggering the head pain. Also, food sensitivities. If you're eating foods that don't agree with your system, this can trigger headaches. Because what happens when you eat foods that you're sensitive to, it goes into your digestive tract and it generates toxins and inflammation. All of those molecules need to go to the liver. And when the liver gets overwhelmed and congested, that can land in the head in the form of a migraine. Food sensitivity testing is done with a small blood draw, and then we can check you against the 144 to 208 most commonly eaten foods to see what is maybe triggering your system that way. Alcohol is a big one in there too, specifically wine. That will trigger migraines in the vast majority of people. I don't really think any amount is great for you. It's certainly not a health beverage, and I don't want you to buy into that half a glass of wine a day is good for your heart type business, because daily drinking, I think, is one of the worst health habits, and it certainly can drive dehydration and headaches. So certain types of dairy will also do it, gluten, and then other random ones, and that's why it's case by case, and we like to test and kind of see which one is specific for you. Tension headaches are another big one, probably one of the most common headaches. So this is where people are going to have tension either come up their neck, back of the skull, wrap around to maybe the temples here, or there'll be like a tight band. And usually it's from stress. Usually it's from trigger points in the muscles, in particular your traps and levator scapula. And those are two important shoulder and neck muscles because they cross both joints. So if you have trigger points in there, if you're maybe doing a lot of desk work and you're seated where your shoulders are riding up, that will climb up the back of the neck, and then the referral point for these muscles actually is right on the side of the temples here. So quite often people will feel that tension on the sides, but the problem is actually either the neck or the muscles. And the important thing with the neck is if the cervical vertebrae, those bones in your neck, are restricted or fixated, quite often they may benefit from a cervical adjustment, so a chiropractic adjustment. Because if there's fixation there, there's going to be muscle spasm and muscle tension that can trigger pain in the area as well as headaches. And I do a lot of electroacupuncture, soft tissue work, chiropractic adjustments, as well as trigger point injections in my practice for this very reason. Call the treatment the headache buster, because if you get to the cause of the problem, it's very unlikely to crawl up your neck and trigger these episodes. Posture is another really big one. If you start to change the curves of the neck or you have an excessive hunch of the upper spine, that's going to cause problems. And when we have compensations start in one area of our spine, you're going to eventually have it in the other. So if changes of the spine and curvature happens in the low back, you're going to see a rebound effect in the upper back, and then that influences the final curve up at the top of the spine where your neck is. So you really need to look at postural correction. You got to make sure that you don't have an overdeveloped chest or front side of your body, and that you're doing enough upper back work in the gym to make sure the shoulder is centrated and that the curves of the neck are naturally maintained. And then we can talk about caffeine withdrawal. So I talk to a lot of people each week, and I'm always asking them about their coffee intake for a lot of reasons. But since we're talking about headaches, if people are used to a lot of caffeine and then for whatever reason on that next day they don't consume as much, say they're usually drinking 3 or 4 cups and maybe they do 0 or 1 cup the following day, they are very likely going to trigger a caffeine withdrawal headache. Quite often when people are suffering from migraines, one of the treatments is take a little bit of caffeine, because it helps alter the blood vessel activity to get rid of that vasodilation and pain trigger that comes with the migraines. So you do have to look at caffeine intake here, because what happens is usually when I'm telling people to reduce, I'll say do it slowly. So you have to kind of think about, okay, how much caffeine am I drinking? Is it maybe too much for my system? And if I'm going to pull back, how do I do it in a way that I'm not going to trigger headaches? So I usually recommend, generally speaking, 1 cup a day, sometimes up to 2 if someone really well tolerates it. But honestly, the caffeine should be 2 or less, and that needs to be done by lunchtime so that it does not affect your sleep. Also, hydration plays a huge role. A lot of these headaches I see are dehydration headaches, and that goes hand in hand with blood sugar triggered headaches. Whereas if you don't have enough fluid on board, you're going to trigger headaches. If you don't balance your blood sugar and eat fairly steadily throughout the day, this is every 4 to 5 hours, make sure to get some food in your system, that can also trigger headaches. So when it comes to hydration, you need to make sure that you're intaking 1 liter per 50 pounds body weight each day. You need to make sure that that's paired with proper amounts of electrolytes. Electrolytes are critical because they balance with your fluid levels. You can't just drink pure water and think you're getting hydrated. You also need to include enough electrolytes. So that's table salt to make sure you get a little bit of iodine. Pink salt and white sea salt should be added to the food you cook and eat. Don't think that salt's bad. It's actually a very beneficial micronutrient. You gotta make sure that you're getting enough of it. Some other symptoms and things to think about here. I always tell people that the symptoms you're experiencing, they're whispers from the body, and the body will continue to whisper, and then it will get louder, and eventually those whispers turns into screams or yells where the pain is so bad that you can't function. So you never want to let it get to that point. It's all about getting to the cause, because you have to think, okay, I have a headache right now. With the right practitioner, the next question should be, what is causing my headaches? Because then if you find the cause, it's really easy to develop a treatment plan around it. But if you never figure out the cause and just suppress the symptom, that's not going to work long term. And eventually it'll come back to bite you because it'll be so severe, it's going to put you on your butt. So if the cause is a hormone imbalance, we need to figure out why the liver is sluggish, why there may be imbalances between progesterone and estrogen, and get all those pathways opened up in balance. And then those surges will no longer trigger headaches. Maybe it's a dehydration thing. Also, if you've had trauma to the head or neck, this could also be a reason why you're dealing with chronic headaches. There could be maybe a contact sport you played where there was some damage to the facet joints of the neck, and the referral for those joints can scatter anywhere up the head, neck, and spine. So that could maybe be something to look into as well. If there's chronic whiplash from motor vehicle accidents, very likely to leave you with some chronic headaches. And so restabilizing the neck with prolotherapy or PRP injections could be really good to add some stability back to those spots. The last thing I want to mention is there are what we call red flags. There are some headaches that are just so obvious that are red flags that you need medical attention. And it's a little more serious than, oh, I just didn't have enough water today, or I'm really stressed and my neck is tight and my head is sore. There are times when there are red flags and it's a lot more serious. So some things to watch out for are brand new headaches that you never had before. If you're a person that most of your life you've never dealt with headaches, and all of a sudden you're dealing with headaches all the time, or it's new and very intense, that's a red flag that needs to be seen. Also, if it's the worst headache of your life, if you're used to having headaches and generally you can still kind of get through your day and deal with it, but all of a sudden there's one so bad that you have to go home and you have to miss work and it is literally the worst headache you've ever had, that's a red flag and it needs to be seen. Also, if there's changes in vision, changes in hearing, any balance issues, anything that seems like there's a little bit more something going on, and always trust your gut on this, that's when you definitely want to reach out, go see someone, get to the ER room or the nearest urgent care center, and make sure that you tell them what's going on, because as I said earlier, no headaches are normal, but certainly the really serious ones or new ones that you're not used to, those need to be seen right away. So I hope you found all that helpful. And if you're dealing with headaches and you need advice or you want to reach out or you have more questions, just drop a comment below and I'd be happy to chat with you about this, or at least get you in contact with the right person that you need. And other than that, thank you for watching.